Guys, like, comment, subscribe, share the video, especially if you love MMA as much as I do. Now, this is a really hard fight to predict because Jon Jones came back for the first time in 3 years. He dominated Cyril Gane. Cyril Gane was active. Jon Jones proves once again it doesn't matter how long he was out or anything like that. He comes back. He knows how to win. He usually comes back better after being out for a little while. So, Stipe's also been out for a little while, about 2 years now, since he got knocked out by Francis Ngannou, a guy he's already beaten anyway. What to expect? I expect a lot of wrestling from both guys. I expect both guys to be really big and strong. Personally, I think Stipe is going to be a lot bigger than what he was last time. What was he, 230 something pounds? He even admitted after the fight, man, I got to come in a lot bigger, stronger. So he's at least going to be 250, maybe even 260. I think he'll be the biggest he's ever been for any fight he's ever had. I don't think he's ever been over 240 something pounds, right? In his UFC career, he's a huge guy. He's going to be at least 255 pounds or more. That's my opinion. That's how big I expect Stipe to get. I expect Jon Jones to be about the same size. He feels like, well, this has already worked for me. It should work again. I expect Jon Jones to wrestle a lot in this fight. I don't really expect him to stand with Stipe as much until later in the fight if everything goes his way. What do I mean by everything going his way? I expect Jon Jones to really try to grapple a lot, take Stipe down. I expect Stipe to get taken down, but not several times in this fight. I really think Stipe has enough size, power, and just enough technique to at least hang with Jon Jones in the wrestling. I do think Stipe is going to get out wrestled. The question is, will it be like a 1 or 2, 3 takedown defense where it's not terrible? Or will it be like Colby Covington, Jorge Masvidal, where one guy clearly out wrestled the other? You know what I mean? So it just depends. You know what I mean? So if Jon Jones can enforce the wrestling and then start and stand with Stipe later in the fight where he's tired from making him carry Jon Jones' weight and fend off submission attempts, because Jon Jones is going to look for submissions. He just came off a submission victory for the first time in 11 years. So you got to imagine that's going to be going through his mind again. With Stipe, I expect him to dirty box, to keep Jon Jones in his face, to keep him close like he did with Cormier. That's how he beat Cormier, with body shots, wearing him down over time. Going for takedowns but not getting them. I expect him to do that with Jon Jones. Jon Jones is a good wrestler. Cormier is an elite level wrestler, and he was only able to take down Jon Jones one time in their first fight. Stipe maybe one time himself for no takedowns. I do think he'll give Jon Jones a fit with the wrestling, just enough to keep it competitive. For Stipe, again, he does not need to give Jon Jones distance in this fight. If he does, it's going to be a long night for him. But if he keeps him close, puts him against the cage, that's what he did with Cormier in the last fight they had. Heck, they both did it with Cormier at some point. They kept Cormier up against the cage, and they were able to outwork Cormier. So this fight is really not going to be about who's going to outwork. It's going to be about who outworks who, but it's going to be this close. I think it's going to go down to experience in championship fights. It's also going to go down to who can enforce themselves more. It's going to go down to whose technique is better. And it's going to go down to who can last longer in this fight. Personally, this will be a championship round fight, meaning it might go to distance. I think it'll go to the 4th, maybe 5th round. It's going to go down to who can also take the most shots at heavyweight. It's one thing taking a lot of hits at 205 pounds, but really, Jon Jones didn't even get hit in that fight, except he got hit in the nuts, But with Gane, well, that's besides the point. So it just depends. For Jon Jones, he needs to keep his distance, and if he shoots in, he needs to take him down. Get the better of the wrestling exchanges. Make Stipe carry his own weight besides his weight, the weight himself. Stipe is going to be a heavy guy. Make him work to get out of the takedowns if I'm Jon Jones. And then early, mid, late 3rd round, start standing with Stipe and pick him apart with the leg kicks, with the body kicks. Don't be fancy with the kicks, with the wheel kicks and the spinning back elbows. Just keep it basic, because if you mess around and do that and you miss, you get hit. Stipe can't put his lights out. He's putting out guys' lights out before at heavyweight, with his hands. Don't make this a war of attrition. He needs to be smart. He needs to go for takedowns. Again, don't stand with him too much until later in the fight. All right, Stipe, grind out Jon Jones. You got to beat him to the punch. You got to be able to keep him close. Do the dirty boxing. You have to be able to mix up leg kicks. Don't be too predictable, because Jon Jones is really good at adjusting in the fights. If he's losing like he did with Gustafsson or competitive fights like he had with Cormier, he was good at adjusting. So expect adjustments out of Jon Jones. Make it tough for him to say, okay, he's not just dirty boxing. He's not just punching me in the stomach. He's mixing up with leg kicks. He's throwing in some elbows. I got to figure out a way to get out of that. That's what Stipe needs to do. And for Stipe, if he wins this fight, he'll be able to keep Jon Jones from taking him down so much and making him work for the takedowns. And he probably can't keep Stipe down, and he's not getting the better of the stand-up exchange. So if Stipe wins, he can get a TKO. I think he can wear down Jon Jones because he's a much bigger guy than Cyril. He actually knows how to wrestle, so that'll help him when he fights Jon Jones. Again, I think Jon Jones is the far better grappler, but he could beat Jon Jones. I do think his wrestling is enough to at least keep not this much of a gap between the wrestling, more like this kind of a gap or that. I mean, it's doable because Stipe can also box, and he can throw kicks if he needs to. He needs to mix up his stand-up. If he can do that, he wins this fight. But if not, if he's just figuring out Jon Jones trying to chase him down because Jon is keeping his distance and Jon's wrestling proves to be too much, he will lose the fight. But we'll see what happens. I haven't given a prediction yet. I'm not going to. Not yet.